grab some meat or whatever you need. I'm Corey, and it's time to get into it. So today we're going to be looking at Diablo 2 Resurrected. The reason that we're going to be looking at this is because the latter season starts very shortly. It's just a couple hours away by the time you're watching this video. It may be within a few minutes. It may have already started. So what I want to do is I want to look at each class and give you what I would suggest would be the best starter build. Now, in-game builds are going to be a bit different, and let's just do a couple introduction type things. Just about any build can make it through normal. Normal is very easy to push through, pretty simple, doesn't take too much to get through normal. Just about any build can get through it, and there are going to be certain rune words that will help your journey a lot. Nadir Helm is very good. Stealth Armor is very good. Malice, which is a weapon, is very, very good. And then as you progress into Nightmare, these are going to become even more beneficial to you. There's also some very, very good farming spots in Nightmare that will help you progress through Hell. And all of these builds are going to be leveling builds. Leveling builds and in-game builds are completely different for the most part. So that's that. Let's go ahead and jump in. We'll take it straight from left to right, starting with the Amazon. Amazons are a very good class. They're very strong. They're very, very, very strong. So we'll name her that, and then we'll jump in and let's look at her talent trees, and I'll tell you what I would do. So first thing, we're going to be starting out with Jab, working our way into Power Strike and Poison. Power Strike, Poison, Lightning Bolt, these are really, really, really powerful. Especially while progressing through the game. And something that a lot of people don't talk about that kind of frustrates me is her passive and magic skills. These are incredibly good. This one is kind of, it's kind of whatever. Maybe 1 point here, 1 point here, so that you can get Decoy, which is really strong. Valkyrie, which is really strong. It's not as strong. Valkyrie's the one that's really strong. But these ones, these are really, really good. I mean, with just a couple points, you're at 50% chance to get double damage on your hits. You've got some good avoidance on here. Dodge, avoid, evade. All three of these, I have PvP'd so many Amazons that it is so difficult. This gives you Pierce, or increase your attack rating, not Pierce. This is Pierce. Go through an enemy when you're throwing javelins at him. Now, for poison, this is not great. A lot of poison, you're going to throw it, it's going to hit the target and then create a little poison cloud. So this is not so great on poison javelin builds. But by the time you get to this, these are good. Do not ignore your passive skill tree. You can use bow and crossbow if you want to. I don't think it's good. I think the best route is going to be pushing through with javelins, with, like I said, lightning and poison. Poison and Plague are going to be my suggested ones, but if you prefer just to do straight up lightning, go for it. And that's going to be the Amazon. Next, we're going to look at the Assassin. Now, the Assassin, it's not one of my favorite classes to play. It's not one of my favorite ones to go through. I would not suggest using martial arts. Shadow disciplines, not really. I mean, Fade is pretty good. That's a burst of speed can be good to help you run through. That's really about it aside from Shadow Master and Shadow Warrior. Traps is where you're going to want to be putting your points into. Traps for leveling is very good. Traps for PvP is very good. You've got Fire Blast to start it off, Shockweb, and then you work right down into Bolt and Lightning Sentry. You can also be dropping points into Wake of Fire and Wake of Inferno. These are not terrible. Obviously, these are better because of Infinity in the very end game, but while leveling, I would say balancing between Lightning and Fire are splendid. It's going to allow you to progress through the game. You come across in hell difficulty, or even in the higher ranges of Nightmare, when you have monsters that are more resistant to lightning, start throwing down your fire traps. More resistant to fire, start throwing down your lightning traps. One thing that's really good with this ability is, or with this class, is Mind Blast. Mind Blast is really strong versus PvP mostly. Like I said, Burst of Speed is good, Fade is good, Shadow Master and Shadow Warrior are good, and Mind Blast is good in the Shadow Discipline trees. I wouldn't worry about the martial arts unless that's really what you're going for. Not a suggested build, but it's not necessarily a bad build. I would just say you get a lot easier of a time leveling if you're using your traps. Next, we're going to move on to, what is it, the Barbarian next? Necromancer. All right, so Necromancer, I've seen people say that the teeth build, that heavily focusing into bone builds are good. No, I would disagree with that. I would not really put much in here. I mean, maybe a point in bone armor, maybe 1 point in teeth, but you can go over here to Akara, and like this, these are one of the builds that's going to benefit most from this. You can find some really, really strong wands from Akara. Like, obviously, you're not going to have gold when you first start out, but when you're leveling through, you can get some wands over here that are incredibly strong. Wands, like right there, 1 raise skeleton, 2 amplify damage, 2 to weaken, 2 to bone armor, that's fine. Right here, faster cast rate. The main thing that you're going to want to be looking for in these wands are going to be skeleton mastery and skeleton. Raise skeleton and skeleton mastery here, because you're going to want to be a summon boy. Obviously, you're going to want amp damage, weaken. Those are both really good. I personally just invest a couple points into amp damage to make the sphere bigger. And then I put all of my points in here. With this, all you're going to have to do, get all your guys summoned out. It makes it a lot easier once you get Clay Golem, because then you don't have to worry about killing things yourself. If you don't have Clay Golem, you're not going to really be able to kill things in order to summon your skeletons. But that's fine. I would say summoning is the best route to go. It is so good. You can have so many skeletons, skeletal mages. This will make them stronger and do more damage, and even revive monsters. This helps all of these. So summoning Necromancer, the way to go. If you want, you can put points down here into some of them, but I think it's kind of a waste, with the exception of Corpse Explosion. This can be really good to give yourself a little bit extra defensive capabilities, and this can be good for filling up the screen with bone walls. That way the enemies can't get to you. You can, put like bone walls around your character, around yourself, and let your minions do all the work if that's what you want to do. But mainly, get a couple points in these curses, and then just throw everything in summoning. You're literally not going to really have to do much at all. It's really strong. The next build, Barbarians. So with Barbarians, I'll go in here to a higher level one so I can actually show you why this is good. There is, obviously you're going to want to get some points in here. Once you start pushing through the higher difficulties, halfway through Nightmare maybe, you can respec to a Warcry, or a Singer as they call, which damages the enemies. And this will benefit greatly from a Viper Magi, 2 spirit weapons. You can get 2 spirit swords, and then you can just yell things to death. And at that point, you're obviously going to want battle orders, battle command. But what we're going to be focusing on is bash, double swing, ignore the double throw, that was a dumbass on my point, and frenzy. Frenzy is really strong because it allows you to move faster. You hit something with a frenzy, and you can move super quick. Double swing, once you get enough points invested in double swing, it actually does not cost any mana at all to use this ability. So that's really strong. Bash will increase the damage of double swing more than points in double swing itself will. So investing in Bash right from the get-go and then investing in double swing while still putting points into Bash, very, very big brain way to go. Berserk is also really good because Berserk can break through physical resistances. So 1 point into Berserk is a really, really smart way to go as well. Ignore the fact that I don't have them. Combat Masteries. Decide which weapon you're going to be using early on. Maces are very, very good. Swords are very good. Axes are okay. I would probably go with maces just because they're very fast and they're just overall really good weapons. Putting at least 1 point into each of these is also going to be a really smart thing to do as well. So that's going to be Barbarian. Mostly melee, which makes it kind of a pain to level with, but also really, really good. They're all really good. Paladins. So Paladins, this is another one that I have a high level Paladin, so I can just hop in here without making a new one. When you first start leveling up a Paladin, the route that I would go is going to be Might into Holy Fire. They've buffed these Holy Fire, Freeze, and Shock abilities to make them way stronger. Way, way, way stronger. Putting points into Holy Fire and then into Zeal is going to be a really, really, really strong way to go. Charge, you can run around with Charge. Charge is really good for not dropping your defenses while trying to move around. It also allows you to run through a lot faster. Now, Holy Bolt into Blessed Hammer into Fist of Heavens is also a really good way to go from what I understand. I've never played a Fist of the Heavens Paladin, so I can't give you my opinion on that, but from what I'm seeing, it's a really strong build. From what I remember, it takes a lot of investment. So I would say Holy Fire, very strong, and Zeal. Defensive auras, put some points in here. It just, shuffling different auras will be... With Paladins, the aura is going to be based on the area that you're in. If you're running with a group of people, Might is going to be fantastic, especially if you're leveling up with a summoner, be it a Necromancer or a Druid. Might increases you and your entire party's damage, so that's really strong. But the main thing that you're going to want to focus on when leveling up is going to be Zeal or Smite. Smite never misses, but Zeal and Holy Fire. Let's look at the next class. We've got 2 more to go. And the next one is going to be the Sorceress. So the Sorceress, whatever you want. Like, no joke, whatever route you decide to go with the Sorceress is going to be good. Is there going to be a suggested one? Absolutely. But it's all based on your preference. So things that you need to get. Warmth. 1 point into Warmth always is beneficial. Fire is really good for a couple different reasons. Excuse me. You can drop 1 point into Enchant once you get it and use a bow and arrow when you run out of mana. That's perfectly fine. I'll typically level up with a bow and arrow up to about level 15 to 20 because it's so mana dependent. So mana dependent. If you're going to go Fireball into Firebolt, super, super strong. Hydra is incredibly strong. The new Hydra is really, really, really fun. Blaze and Firewall. Firewall's okay. Blaze is really fun as well. You throw down some fire on the ground, and you need to run around and stuff dies. Another 1 point wonder, Static Field. Static Field is incredibly good. Lightning is probably one of the best routes to go when leveling up. The new Lightning Nova is super strong. Static Field, like I said, incredibly strong. All of these. Charge Bolt is good fantastic for clearing rooms. Chain Lightning, fantastic for clearing rooms. It's there. It's fun to have, fun to play around with. Doesn't really do much damage. Kind of a waste if you're expecting to invest a lot of points in it. And this is what I mean by Sorceress. Like literally any of these trees you can invest in and do fantastic. Frozen Armor, Shiver Armor, these are both 1-point wonders as well. If you're going to go with a cold, which is what I always do, Ice Bolt into Ice Blast into Glacial Spike, these are all incredibly, incredibly good. Now, me personally, I am a Frozen Orb. What's the word I'm looking for? I love Frozen Orb. Frozen Orb is my favorite sorceress ability in the game. I am a Frozen Orb obsessionist. That's what I love. Objectively, though, Blizzard's better. Blizzard is objectively better than Frozen Orb. You can clear stuff easier. You can clear stuff faster. You can clear stuff better. I just love Frozen Orb. But any build that you decide to go on the source is incredibly good. This is really good for helping out if you're in a melee group. If you're in a melee group, throwing this on there is going to be amazing. Gives them extra attack rating, gives them extra fire damage. It's pretty good. Now, let's look at our final build in here. This one's going to be a bit different than most people say as well. The Necromancer. Druid. Now, Druid was one of those classes that for the longest time, Tornado was really the way to go because summoning was not very effective. So what you would do is you would get here down into Twister and Tornado, and that's what you would use. You invest heavily into Cyclone Armor, into Hurricane. That's what you would use. You can also go with this type of build. Now, these are going to be good no matter what. These work. But the route that I like to go, especially now with them changing things up, is Summon. Now, Poison Creeper, really, really strong to put your first point into Poison Creeper. It does a lot of damage really early on, and that damage is very far. Like, it goes to everything. It does a lot of damage across the board. As soon as you can, Carrion Vine is really good. So is Solar Creeper. But you need to pick which one you want to use. Yeah, that one replenishes your mana, which is really strong. Carrion Vine replenishes your health. This is good if you're doing a lot of content that may be a little bit more damaging. But you shouldn't have to worry too much about your health because, well, you're going to have a lot of wolves and bears. This Heart of the Wolverine, it's good for if you're going to be doing attacking a lot. If you're running with a melee group, this is really strong. This is kind of Oak Sage. Oak Sage is incredible. It increases your amount of life as well as your party's life by a very substantial amount. And this also goes for your pets. Ravens don't really matter. They don't really have a life pool. You summon them, they hit a certain amount of times, and then they die. Spirit Wolf, Dire Wolf, Bear. These can all be out at the same time now. All of these. You can have wolves, spirit wolves, dire wolves, and a bear out at the same time as your Oak Sage or Heart of the Wolverine and Poison Creeper, Carrion Vine, or Solar Creeper. So one of these creepers, one of these spirits, and all of these animals you can have out. And then, because it's just, for me personally, I love this so much because of how much better it fits. You can transform into a werewolf or a bear. Werewolf is going to give you more movement speed. It's going to make you attack things quicker. Not too much more life, but does give you more life. It also makes you attack faster and attack more consistently. Werebear will give you a lot more defense, a lot more life, but you do have to wait a little bit later before you're able to use it. It depends on what you prefer. Me personally, I prefer the werewolf. If you prefer the werebear, then go with the werebear. But start dropping points into lycanthropy. And then, which one is it? Shockwave. Shockwave is really good simply for the ability to stun things. So summon all your mobs out, turn into a bear, and then shockwave them and let your animals just destroy them. That's great. In this, like I said, you can level this way. That's not an issue at all. It takes a little bit more of an investment though than just summoning out your creepers and then letting them kill everything. Not creepers specifically by this, but your creeps, your good boys. So yeah, that's gonna be that. But honestly, like I said, normal, just about any character can go through normal. Nightmare, you have to be a little bit more particular, but you can go through Nightmare pretty easily. Hell is when things get a lot more challenging. You're going to have to farm, in many cases, you're going to have to farm Nightmare a lot in order to successfully go through Hell. Or just farm Act 1 Hell. If you're not using fire skills, Act 1 Hell is pretty easy to farm through. There's some places that will be more beneficial to farm. Like most of these places in Act 1, you can go through. Right outside of town is going to be good because it's higher level stuff, but honestly, just invest in farming Nightmare. There's really good drops in Nightmare that you can get that can make farming through Hell very easily. Now, if you're playing with a party of people, if you're playing online, if you're playing with a group of people, it's going to be a lot easier, obviously. But if you're not, I would say figure out which class you want to go. Pick one of the leveling builds that I suggested and just enjoy the game. When you get into Hell, you're going to have to respec. You're going to have, I mean, unless you're a summoning Druid or a summoning Necromancer. With the Source, you probably won't have to. Make sure you get a point in Teleport, a point in Static Field, a point in Warmth, and then you're pretty much good with Source. Paladins, real quick for like Hell builds, Amazon, Lightning Javelin. A Lightning Javelin's the way to go. Assassin, Lightning Trapsin. They're really strong. For the Necromancer, Summoning. Summoning's incredibly strong. For the Barbarian, Frenzy, Singer. Me personally, I like Frenzy. I love the melee. For the, what do we have next? Paladin, Hammerden. For the Sorceress, either a Blizzard Source, a Lightning Source, like just lightning, or, I mean, if you're going to do higher, a fire, maybe Hydra. Firebolt is really good. Fireball's really good. But Hydra is really, really strong. And then for the Druid, Summon or Tornadoes. Almost all of these builds are going to benefit very heavily from a Spirit Shield, Spirit Sword. If you can't get a Spirit Shield, then I believe it's a Troll's Nest that gives +1 to skills and faster cast rate, but I forget the name of it. Spirit Sword, Serpent Skin, the Viper Magi Serpent Skin armor, which you can farm Act 1 in Nightmare. That's usually where I farm mine. I farm the Catacombs till I get a couple of them. For the Helm, Shaco's really good on all these builds, but that's kind of a more of an in-game Helm. A lot of these different builds, that's really all that you need to make them super successful. Spirit, Viper Magi. Anyways, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it helped you out. Good luck on ladder start. I've already discussed it with my son. We are going to be starting ladder as soon as it goes live on the PlayStation, and we're both going to be rolling Necromancers. So, yeah. Anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed. I hope you found this video useful. Like I said, like, share, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you in the next one.